Welcome, everyone. I have a super special guest today, another one, because I always say they're all special to me. This is an inspiring episode. Her name is Jasmine Navarro, and she is a certified life coach and entrepreneur who shares a very interesting, remarkable journey of transformation. She's going to tell you a little bit about her personal story, but just to introduce her, Jasmine made the bold decision to leave everything she knew behind and explore the world. She has lived and taught in 11 countries across 3 continents for over 15 years. So she says, when I spoke to her before this recording, she says she was looking for happiness and fulfillment in every destination, but true change starts from within. Wow, that's really powerful. And I think nobody likes change, Jasmine. But can you introduce yourself? Tell us about you, about your journey, your qualifications, what is it that you do? But especially, I think you deal with change and the people you coach
Yeah.
are going through life transitions. But tell us about you.
Thank you so much, Monica, for having me on. It's been a pleasure to meet you and see you again. So I'm a certified wellbeing expert. So yeah, like you said, I was a teacher for 20 years, living in all those countries. And now I work with primarily with teenagers, and I also support parents, helping them build self-confidence, resilience, self-awareness, really, so they can first know what they're thinking and are their thoughts helping them, and how their thoughts affect their feelings and actions and all of those things. So it's really about teaching them the power of self-awareness, and then showing them tools and techniques that can help, so that they can use if they want to change a part of their life, and like you said, everything starts with us. So
Yeah.
when we learn this, I think it's the most it's liberating. It doesn't mean it's easy. Like the things I
No,
teach, it's simple things, but it's
but
definitely
not
not
easy.
easy. No, exactly. And I really do focus a lot on emotional well-being as well. So I really do believe, when we can manage our emotions, we can manage our life, basically. And we can hold on to so many emotions, and it can affect our lives.
So
But
a
yeah.
lot of our audience live abroad and they are diaspora members, meaning they're not in their home country and they have moved for reasons for work mostly, or maybe family, or maybe they got married and their spouse is from that home country. So you talk a lot about emotional well-being, and I think I personally have moved a lot like you, and I think it's the kind of a curriculum of personal growth just to move. But tell us a little bit about you, and how did you get into this self-awareness, confidence, and coping with change and mental well-being? If moving around in different countries shaped your interest for this area?
No, I think, it started when I was 18. I found out that my stepdad passed away, and I found out in the newspaper. And that caused me to feel so many emotions that I did not know how to deal with them, or what I was feeling, or anything. And I just, back then, 20 plus years ago, we didn't talk about, people barely talk about their emotions now. Back then, especially in the UK, it wasn't a thing to talk about, and nobody really
No.
understood what I was going through. So I just wanted to leave. So I felt like that for about 8 years. I was traumatized for about 8 years, really. And that's what made me want to leave and just start again and just get away from everything. I don't know if I was trying to escape my feelings. I don't know. But 9 years ago, I just sort of felt I needed a change in career, because I felt like I was just going from one country to the next, because it was just what I was used to. And every time I went to a new place, I think deep down I was hoping that things would change. But of course,
For you.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe change how I feel. I don't know. But of course, nothing, you can't really change your life just by changing the things that are happening outside. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that until 9 years ago. I thought it's time to work on myself, because I kept meeting coaches, coactive coaches. And then I decided to take the training, not to be a coach, but just to work on myself, because I'd never really done any inner work.
Mhm.
So I took this training, and to be honest, I didn't enjoy it at all, because
I see.
we had to work on ourselves in front of like 20 plus people. For me, it was my worst nightmare. I felt so uncomfortable, but something inside me was kept telling me, keep going, keep going. You're going to get the answer at the end of this. So, of course, I was learning so much about myself, my emotions, increasing my self awareness, identity, so many things. So I kept going. And at the end of it all, that's when I realized this is what I want to do, because I'd realized I'd sort of changed so much, or found, or not necessarily changed, just become more myself. And that's when I realized this is what I want to do. I don't need to travel the world and change my job and all of this. I can just work on myself, and then things outside me will change automatically. So then I got certified as a coactive coach. And then I started working with adults. And then I thought, when I was a teenager, maybe these tools and techniques would have helped me, the tools and techniques I learned during the training. So I started creating workshops, delivering them to schools, universities in a simple and fun way. And then COVID happened, so I was doing it all online. And then I thought I needed to support parents, because, my mum wasn't sure what to do when I was going through that traumatic grief. So I started doing that. And then that's what I do now. I've got my own program, Creative Confidence, and basically I deliver workshops to schools, to companies, teaching them all about, well-being, emotional well-being, more self-confidence, resilience, all of those things. So,
So there is so much to unpack there. I think first I want to ask you. I I don't. So you moved a lot around, right? Maybe
yeah,
seeking for an internal feeling.
I
That's
think
what I
so. Yeah,
understood. And I think a lot. I can relate to that. I've always been very ambitious, very career driven, and I struggle a lot to kind of. I do realize. I like to think I'm self-aware to a point. I do realize when I've done it again. I
yeah.
am pursuing that external achievement,
Oh, yeah.
but I catch myself way into the journey, and I'm like, oh, I've done it again.
Mm.
But I'm just, how can we stop ourselves maybe before we get into it? And I still do it. I don't know if I can change it, but I know I'm better at
Yeah.
identifying when I'm doing it, and
I
then I
think you
take a
can.
step back.
I think you can definitely change it, but that's how it starts, isn't it? First step is self-awareness. There's so many steps, and change is the final step. I can't remember if there's 4 steps, but one is, the self-awareness, noticing, or notice when you've done something, when you've actually already done it. So it's like, oh, I've just done that. No, sorry.
Mm.
First step is not knowing. You just carry on taking the same action, same life, so you don't know. Next step is you start realizing after, hang on, this is a pattern here. Then you get to a point where you realize it in the moment, but maybe you still do it. And
Yeah.
then you get to a point where you you realize you're going to do it before you actually do it, so you change. So there's like 4 steps or something. So you're on the way.
Thank you. You give me hope. No, I do realize, and
Definitely.
when I unpack it, I think about, oh, okay, because I have worked a lot on myself. I have gone to counseling. I've had coaches, and yeah, I know that my self-worth comes from achievement, but that's deeply rooted
Wow.
in my childhood. And the interesting thing, and because you work with parents as well, I am very conscious not to pass this on to my son. I don't demand academic excellence from him. I demand
Yes.
good behavior and good values, but it's like the punishment is for myself, that expectation. But I want to know what you tell parents. How do you work with them? Because you say you work with teenagers,
Yeah.
but I think our audience is mostly parents. My son is 10, but probably we have older children as well, for the people that are listening. So can you tell us a little bit how you work with the parents?
Yeah, and it depends. There's not a one size fits all. There's definitely, and there's definitely no quick fix. It's all a process, and it is all work. Consistency, trying new things, building new habits. But so yeah, I give like workshops to parents. So we work in a group setting. So that's one way of doing it. But also one-to-one. But it all comes down to the self-awareness of the parent, because the more self-aware they are with themselves, the more they can notice what's happening with their children. So I really do believe it does start a lot with the parents, because children do copy what we do. So again, it's about self-awareness. So maybe we would, have, I'd coach them. So I'd ask them powerful questions. I would give them a mini self-assessment to see how happy they are in different areas of their life. We would work on what do they really want. And then I'll tailor a package program for them. But every parent's different, every family's different. So, but the main similarity is, it's about I'll be helping them gain self-awareness so they can figure out what they need to figure out and what's best for them, their relationship with themselves, their relationship with their partner, or their relationship with their children. But it would start with self-awareness for sure.
So I would guess, because another thing I want to unpack is confidence. We see a lot of conversations around this, and I would guess that developing your self-awareness will lead to a natural, authentic confidence.
Well,
yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, the self-awareness helps us realize what we're thinking. And when we realize what we're thinking, we can ask ourselves, is this thought helping me? Or how am I responding to this thought? And if it's not helping us, with that awareness, we can change it. But if we don't know, like most of us are just living on autopilot every day, the same thoughts, same actions, same feelings, same actions, same life. But it's only when we interrupt our thought patterns and question them can we decide if we want to make change. So conscious choice, basically. So that's really the first. Sorry, you said confidence. So so self-awareness. And then because for me, for example, I realized I was speaking very badly to myself all the time. I
think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I put myself in this mental prison, made up all these stories that I couldn't do things and that I wasn't good enough and I didn't deserve it and all of these things. So I had to work on all of that first. Some of it was quite deep-rooted core beliefs that I had, because if you've got a deep core belief, you're going to self-sabotage yourself because you want to keep that core belief alive and you want to keep doing familiar things. So if you don't know that, you don't have a chance to do it. So that's the first step. Yeah. And that's how I work with teenagers as well. For example, it was only the other day I was working with a teenager, and she didn't have any self-confidence. She couldn't put her hand up in class. And then we started realizing that every day when she looked in the mirror, she said really damaging thoughts to herself. And she was like, I didn't even know I was doing that, So of course, when she went to school, she didn't feel confident because she'd put herself down for like 5 minutes every day. So she started changing her thoughts, writing post-it notes on her mirror. And that eventually led her to becoming really self-confident. And she ended up, I was with her for 6 months, by the way, but she ended up not being able to put her hand up in class 6 months later, organizing the school prom. It's just incredible.
Wow.
And it all came from the words that she was saying to herself. So, words that we say to ourselves matter and can give us confidence or make us feel terrible.
So I asked this because I work with professional women that they are maybe mid to high in high positions, but I also work with young women that are at
Yes.
university. And 9 out of 10 times, they come to me and they say, I just don't feel confident. I'm not confident. I don't know if I can do this. When objectively, I can see that they can do it. It's just they have
Yeah.
so much self-doubt. And that leads me to ask you about your own journey as well, because I know that you were in a normal employment. And this is the second thing that comes up in my conversations with women. They 9 out of 10, they want to have their own business. They want to launch their platform. But it's that fear and lack of confidence in their abilities that
Yeah.
stops them from doing that. So how did you make that jump? Because I can tell you a lot of people want or only dream of launching their own business or their own platform.
Yeah.
And we don't dare. I mean, I've done it. How did you do it? How do you leave the safety of a job to go
I
into
think,
entrepreneurship?
I always knew deep down that
Mhm.
there was something more that I was supposed to be doing. Like, I always knew that. And
Wow.
each year that I got older, that feeling became stronger, that there's something else that I need to do. So I always had that inside me. So maybe that helped. I don't know. So
Okay.
I always knew there was something else. So I had this inner trust or something that there was another purpose for me. If I hadn't have had that, I don't know if it would have been possible. I don't know. But and the thing was, um, it was, for me, it was like now or never. It's like, if I don't do this now, when am I going to do it? So it's literally now or never. Um, but I think the coaching actually helped me, because obviously,
Okay.
ironically, because what I was doing was working on myself a year before. I started it a year before. So I had all this awareness. So I started realizing, like I said, this mental prison I put myself in, and how I was thinking wasn't really helping me. Like, I had all this awareness. So that gave me the tools and techniques to be able to manage self-doubt, basically. Because when I did leave my job, I was for 3 weeks, I remember I was waking up, panicking, scared, anxious, nervous, you made a mistake, all of this.
Yeah.
And probably if I hadn't have had the coaching awareness and tools and techniques, I might have just gone back to my job. But because I knew with the training that I had done that I was going to have these thoughts were going to come because I was leaving my comfort zone, and it was a normal thing, and I just had to ride it out. Because I knew that, I was prepared for it. So when I had these thoughts, you can't do this, you've made a mistake, especially because it was during COVID as well. Everybody around me was telling me that I was crazy. It was the
Yeah.
worst time to leave a job. But I knew that these thoughts were going to come, and it was a normal thing, normal process. So I carried on. I thought, this is part of it. But had I not
Mm.
known that, then I would have gone back to work probably. So again, it was awareness. I was prepared for these thoughts to come. So I knew, I expected them. They came. It was awful. It wasn't easy. But because I knew they were coming, I could manage it somehow. I don't know, but it wasn't easy. So I had
So
that. Yeah.
that would be your advice to people who want to do it. Be
Well,
prepared, know the
work,
stages.
yeah, work on yourself first, maybe,
Mm.
because otherwise you don't really know. It's hard to know how you manage yourself when you leave your comfort zone, because
Mm.
your body and brain will do everything they can to keep you safe.
We all like the comfort zone.
Yeah,
We want to be
exactly.
safe.
Yeah. And those thoughts I had for 3 weeks were just horrendous. But like I said, I knew it was part of the process. But yeah, if I hadn't have done the coaching, I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. So, then the other issue that you mentioned is the core beliefs. And
Yeah,
I don't know if you check around social media, and there's a lot of talk about the imposter syndrome and the feeling of self-doubt. And
yeah,
I often think that I do think the imposter syndrome is real, but I think it's caused by these constant external barriers. that people encounter, especially women. And if you're a woman of color, you have even more barriers. So you have these barriers telling you over and over again that you're not worthy of that. Well, it's just double or triple difficult. So these core beliefs, is it caused by the external, or is it something that we were taught in our
I think,
childhood?
yeah, core beliefs. And I do work a little bit on core beliefs, but that is
Yeah,
definitely more therapy. So it's definitely more the past,
yeah.
because core beliefs are created in childhood. Something happens, we interpret it a certain way, and then we create a belief. And normally, the beliefs are, I'm not deserving, I'm not enough, those kinds of beliefs. And then we live our life accordingly. So if you don't do the inner work, it's very hard to move past that, because even if you on the surface believe I can do this, but if deep down you don't really believe that, you're self-sabotage. So again, it's about working on those core beliefs. But it never sort of ends, does it? There's always something to
No.
work on. But coaching for me was my first step into self-awareness. Then I did therapy, that helped me too. But coaching is more about the present and future, whereas therapy is more about the past. But I think both is good.
I think you have to be willing to
Yeah,
develop yourself. If
yeah,
you want, I
definitely.
always say, if you want to be successful in the traditional sense, or whatever success means to you, you have to be willing to invest. You have to be willing to put in the work,
Definitely.
and it's going to be painful.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. Working on yourself is not easy, but I wouldn't have it any other way now, because if you're not aware, you just keep making the same mistakes again and again and again. You don't even know why. But then
Okay.
another perspective is, things always happen at the right time as well. So I think it's not like I would tell people, you have to work on yourself. It's really up to everybody.
Yeah, and I often think, well, not everyone wants to have their online business,
No.
or not everyone wants to be better, or
Yes.
find their purpose in life. There'll be people who have a purpose, or they're willing to find it. Others, they're just comfortable in their 9 to 5, and they want to go home,
Exactly. And that's
and
fine too.
and that's fine too.
Yeah.
Right. So what advice would you give, Jasmine, to people who are looking to make a change in their lives? I suspect you're going to say
Okay.
get coaching, work on
Well,
yourself,
the first
but
step is always look in the mirror and what are you saying to yourself? That's the first step. That's the first step. That you can gain away, and you can gain so much by looking in the mirror and seeing how you talk to yourself.
but isn't it that our brain is wired to be more negative than positive because it's trying to protect us from danger?
Yeah, maybe, but you can retrain and rewire
Okay.
your brain.
Okay, so that's one. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask, what
Yeah.
are the
And don't judge
conversations in
yourself.
loop?
When you're even if you look in the mirror and you say, "Oh, I look terrible today," or something,
Mm,
don't judge yourself for saying that. It's okay. Just let yourself say it. Like how you respond to your thoughts and your feelings as well. That's step 2. How you react to your feelings and thoughts is very important. Respond with compassion.
okay.
And
Second thing, give me
yeah,
two
well,
more.
that is the second thing. That is the second
Okay.
thing. Respond with compassion. And then I would say journal.
Mm,
Just write down however you're feeling, or whatever you want to write, just write. Because a lot of the time you'll get answers in your writing. Again, don't judge. No judgment.
okay.
Those 3 things, I think, can really change your
Not
life.
not
Simple
judging
things. I really
yourself
believe the
is
simple things. Simple habits that you can implement into your daily routine is the key. It's not about changing everything in one day. It's doing the tiny things. And when you keep doing that, you'll get more motivated, more self-aware, and then you'll be doing other things. You'll know what the next
consistency.
step is automatically. It's starting is the hard part, yeah?
Mm. Amazing. Thank you. Okay. Is there any final words or anything you would like to tell our audience about, or just a final message?
Thank you so much, Monica. No, I would just say, of course, it's always about being kind to ourselves. I think normally the answer is always self-love, you know, but I think it's just one step, one tiny step at a time, which, you know, consistently can change your life for the better. But it's, yeah, I would just say one thing at a time, one day at a time, one step at a time, and then we can do it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.